A recession is a period of time where the economy is shrinking and the unemployment rates are increasing. This can be caused by a number of factors, such as a decrease in consumer spending, an increase in interest rates, and a decline in business investments. In this video, we'll discuss what causes a recession, how it can affect your life or business, and we'll take a look at one of our most recent recessions. So, what is a recession? Most experts and analysts consider 2 consecutive quarters of declining gross domestic product, the GDP, which measures the monetary value of all goods and services produced in a nation, as a practical definition of a recession. This definition has limitations, though it is a helpful generalization. To evaluate if a country is experiencing a recession, it's preferable to take into account a wider range of economic activity measurements rather than just focusing on the GDP. Other options for getting a more timely read on the status of the economy is to use other indicators like employment, actual income, and business cycle data provided by the Business Cycle Data Committee. When the economy hits its peak of activity, a recession starts, and it concludes when it hits its lowest point. The Business Cycle Dating Committee identifies these peaks and valleys. What exactly causes a recession? One of the consistently researched topics in economics has been the causes of recessions. Recessions happen for a multitude of reasons. Some of them are connected to sudden fluctuations in the cost of the materials needed to produce goods and services. For instance, a sudden rise in oil prices may signal the start of a recession. That's because as energy prices rise, the overall price of things rises as well, which lowers demand. A nation's decision to lower inflation by increasing interest rates may potentially cause a recession. When implemented in excess, such policies may cause demand for products and services to fall, which might eventually cause a recession. Sometimes, recessions, like the previous housing market crash in the United States, are caused by issues within the financial markets. Rapid debt buildup frequently occurs in tandem with abrupt rises in asset values and a fast extension of lending. As businesses and families get overextended and over-leveraged and have trouble repaying their debts, they cut back on investment and consumption, which lowers economic activity. Although not all of these credit booms result in recessions, when they do, they frequently have more severe consequences. Declines in foreign demand can trigger recessions, particularly in nations with robust export industries. The negative impacts of recessions in big nations such as Germany, Japan, and the United States are more quickly felt by its regional trade partners. Since recessions can have a variety of reasons, forecasting them is difficult. Behavior patterns of multiple economic factors, such as credit volume, equity markets, and the rate of unemployment, have been documented around recessions. However, while they may be the cause of recessions, they may also be the result of recessions, or in economic terms, an integral part of recessions. Although economists employ a vast number of indicators to estimate the future conduct of economic activity, none has been shown to be a credible predictor of whether a recession will occur. In truth, economists still struggle to predict a sizable portion of recessions, let alone their intensity and duration. Before we continue and discuss how a recession can affect your life or business, if you've enjoyed the video so far, consider subscribing so you never miss out on when we upload these informative and educational videos. How can a recession affect your life or business? The first and most obvious way a recession can impact you is through decreased consumer spending. People tend to cut back on discretionary spendings like eating out, travel, and entertainment during economic downturns. This can obviously have a big impact on businesses that are reliant on consumer spending, and an impact on households who may be trying to save a little more money. Another way a recession can affect you is through increased costs. For example, during a recession, businesses may have to spend more on things like marketing and advertising to attract customers. Additionally, the cost of raw materials may increase as demand decreases, and suppliers look to increase their profits. Finally, a recession can also impact your life or business indirectly through things like increased competition or decreased access to financing. As more businesses fail, competition for the same customers becomes harsher. And as lending standards tighten, getting the financing you need can become more difficult and expensive. Let's take a look at the 2007 to 2008 recession. Beginning in mid-2007, the financial markets started to slide into the worst recession since the Great Depression of the early 1930s. The domino effect of several events led first to a countrywide recession in the United States, and then later spread globally. To analyze the main reasons for the meltdown of the financial sector, resulting in a worldwide recession and economic crises, one has to look back into U.S. history. A complex mix of government policy, financial market structure, and the real estate market's development in the United States were some of the main forces to collapse the financial sector. The financial sector invented its market to trade mortgages. To obtain a profit, U.S. banks sell these mortgages, also called mortgage-backed securities, to other banks and investors, not only in America, but all around the world. Against a specific fee, the claim for repayment plus interest gets transferred to the buyer party. As default rates were historically very low due to high underwriting standards for mortgage-backed securities, and the fact that they also seem to be secure because of the housing market prices, banks, investors, pension and retirement funds invested in mortgage-backed securities because they promised steady interest payments. The demand for these new financial products increased heavily, and soon banks could no longer satisfy the demand given on the market. As a result, the maximum capacity of prime mortgage takers was reached. Due to this, banks started to issue subprime mortgages to borrowers with no proof of income and employment to create more mortgages for the market. Banks guaranteed low and flexible interest rates, diminishing down payments, and often more than one mortgage, enabling low and middle-class Americans to borrow even more money for bigger houses they normally could not afford. In 2006, U.S. housing prices reached their peak, and many buyers were buying not for shelter, but reselling for a quick profit. As a result, the housing boom was created. What followed next was a downward trend due to several events. First, subprime mortgage default rates soon started to rise as borrowers could no longer serve the monthly payments. In 2006, the Federal Reserve increased interest rates to around 5.25%, which caused the delinquency of even more and more loaners. Subprime mortgages with flexible interest rates were affected the most. As a result, the housing bubble burst, and what happened next can only be described as a domino effect. The downward trend in the U.S. housing market was unstoppable, and the economy faced a severe recession. Recessions can be financially devastating, but given the historical trend, you're certain to encounter a few over your lifetime. Planning ahead of time will help you survive and support your family when the next disaster strikes. This can include building an emergency fund to be able to supplement your family or your business. It could also mean getting rid of high-interest debt so you're not stuck having to pay when money is tight. We know that recessions will happen, though at this point we cannot predict them. We can take steps to prepare ourselves. That's it for today's video. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming amazing videos.